very beautiful first day of 06/20/25, and this is Madaraka Day. If you confuse, you call it Madaraka Day or Makadara Day. Ilianza tu labda somewhere near Jogoo Road or someplace, we don't know. But it is 62 years of freedom since we were given the freedom as a Republic of Kenya. And I think we've enjoyed many things, but we also have to know what should we be enjoying and what should we not be enjoying at the same time. Remember, this is EBN TV, the Spheres of Life, and we come to you every Sunday from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m. to bring you captivating and touchy topics that touch more of your life, and to ensure that there's transparency, there is objectivity, and there is sanity in every story that we're making here. Remember, our social media platforms are Jeff Somba on Facebook and TLPT on YouTube. And I'm glad today the house is full. And when the house is full, I don't know. What I've prepared for these people is only hot water. And the topic is so intensive, the topic is so large, because it is the garden of your mind, and this is your mental health this first day. Yes, I know Mental Health Month is always May, and we don't have time to capture any topic during that month. So that's why we are ending May and starting off June in a big way. So from my side, from my extreme right, I have Sylvia Wangeshi. She is a psychologist. In between, I have a champion, Gladson Obamu Madine. He is the director, Ghetto Grinders Community Network, and we have near and closer to me,
Lillian.
I'm not forgetting her name, Lillian. She's a health specialist at Metropolitan Hospital, and these people will be helping us to understand how important and how can your mind become a garden of your own body, of your soul. How can you water your mind to be a bigger part of your body? So they'll be introducing themselves in a short while, but before we go, this is how we move into the slits and slices of the spheres of life.
Namuvea mwehai undo wa thayo, kwanza uthayo go jai na kianda. Ninamuvea wi mwana kwaku maundo nimeke bathukanganyo, ona ilangu ina ngithaitha thaitha ni yumite natikana ni mwihaneu oseo wa kunengwa thayo, na lilikana meko maku ngoya kwetia wane kuwania thayo. Vala wangumya nikimbithi cha thayo, utundani thinane ukambikalia na sumbe, unengete sietwa ukambia wa medhoi. Asante mwandadi osanga thosionde siakwa ndaye asionde siakwa osanga thosionde siakwa ndaye asionde siakwa. Aikuosa wabeta kimondo wabeta unete sietwa na ndaya nililika na ngaya ketha no inye oula watene na umangawa kona kugulwa na kwitwa masietwa on the mathe pekivindi nesilile maisha ngewa madela sama na manane kwacha kuituka na kuituka ngona kakwacha ende witai weula wandangiye na kabule witai na ndikolwa nuseo wakuwendai tata ndaye asionde siakwa osanga thosionde siakwa ndaye asionde siakwa. wete wa somi ya inge onyubete kweza nawe ya mbanga sya kila muthemba ikukitika ukanzobea wewetei mitwano yiyunje tendeliane wituka tonya matei maku utani matatho wechana mipothi utuneteta muthenzeo osanga dosionde syakwa yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama yelele mama
Welcome back to EBN TV, the Spheres of Life. We shall be reading your comments. So we want to know how important is your mental health. And if you have any question, we have a panelist who will be helping us to understand how important your mental health is. So I'm starting with Sylvia. Welcome to EBN, Sylvia.
Thank you so much. As you've heard, my name is Sylvia Wangesho-Rimo.
Yeah.
I'm a psychologist by profession and also a mental health champion. I'm really happy to be here to discuss the topic at hand because it's really crucial and very important at the same time. Yes.
Okay, I want to leave with everyone now. It is Madaraka Day and we are celebrating freedom as a country. So do you think there is anything that we need to celebrate as a country? I give you 1 second to clear with that, then I move to the next guest.
Honestly, me being in this country, one thing I'll celebrate is being alive, nothing much.
That is quite important. And as we come back, you shall still be telling us why, in the state of the economy, why our mental health is not stable, even when things are looking like they are good, and when promises are still having to amp, things are working well. We move to, do you finish with ladies first? No, Glasson, welcome to
Thank you so much. Good evening to our viewers. So, as you have heard, my name is Glasson Madin Obuamu, Director Ghetto Grinders Community Network. I'm also a mental health champion, ambassador, trainer, you name it. So, heading to your question, what should we be celebrating as a country? Well, there are so many things that are not going right, but at least there are some that are going right. For example, we are experiencing this calmness that is not in so many countries. We are seeing so many countries. There are so many infights where people are living on the edges. There are so many who are even coming to Kenya to just sit here. So as much as we have too much that is happening in terms of our economy and maybe the political realm, we can actually celebrate that. In spite of all these things, you can go to any social media platform and speak what you want, and you will not be shut down. You can also give your views on so many things, and you'll be listened to, because not so many countries experience such freedom. Kuna areas, in some countries, ukiongea tu kidogo hivi milango yako inagongwa, you go. So in Kenya, we have a lot, as much as we don't have everything, but we are far better than most of the African countries and some of European countries, because we have so much freedom and we have a lot. And as I finish, let me just also celebrate one lady called Belinda. Belinda Oluoch. Aliniambia Glasson, ile siku ukikosa kunipatia shout out I'll kill you. So Belinda nimelipa deni. She's one of our trainers. Tuna train in hizi mambo za mental health. So she's one of our people nyana tuo chingi sana whenever we go. So nikamwambia let me nilipe hiyo deni anytime nenda in BN next. When I'm there I'll tell Jeff wacha tu nilipe hiyo deni tumalize.
Haina shida.
Yes.
Kuduma Salaam Museum. Welcome Lillian.
Thank you, Jeff. To our viewers, thank you again. I'm happy to be at EBN once again. My name is Lillian Wanjiru Nyakairo. I am a health promotion specialist currently working at Metropolitan Hospital. I hope this session will be interactive. Like, we expect you to comment and ask as many questions as you can. About what I can celebrate with our country is the freedom that we have, the freedom of expression, religion. Like we have the freedom that that some of the countries don't have. So in the midst of the highs and the lows of this life, at least we have freedom. I celebrate that. Chef.
Okay, that's a great one. I think we start peeling the fruit as early as now. Lillian, how important is your mental health, and what is mental health? I think we need to begin with what is mental health first.
To understand mental health from a layman's language, from a layman's point of view, mental health is the state whereby, it's a state of well-being whereby an individual is able to understand him or herself and is able to deal with daily stresses that occurs in their life without having to break down. So anytime you have that resilience, that positivity, that self-awareness, we refer to you as a person who's mentally well. Yes.
Okay, good. Lillian, Sylvia.
Thank you. I've loved the way she has explained it. I'll just touch a bit of what she has not touched, and I really think it's important. So for me, mental health is a state of well-being. When we say state, it means it can change, because a state of something can change. So there are days that your mental health will be good, there are days that your mental health will be bad. And it's a state of well-being where an individual is able to identify their own abilities. You're able to know your potential. You are able to know, what can I do? What am I good at doing? And you do it. An individual is fruitful and productive in their community and in their own life. And an individual is able to deal with normal stresses of life in a positive way, in a manner.
Okay, good. And I'm glad because Gladstone is around and he advocates so much when it comes to issues of the mind. And I know we'll get something extravagantly broader to understand how important is our mental health.
So just as they have said, I think they have summarized it so well, because it's just basically one, being able to cope with the daily stresses of life, because there are so many daily stresses. You know, when we just leave stresses away, everyone will maybe mtakuwa najiuliza sisi stresses ni kama gani. They are very basic. Kama tu ya kulipa nyumba, hiyo ni stress already. How to make your wife happy or your man happy, hiyo pia kwa wengine ni stress tu. Jua nashinda kwa sasa namuelewa. Yes, so kuna zile tu rahisi. Hata kuna mwingine tu maji ya plot si safi. Kwake hiyo ni stress. So how do you deal with that? Does it frustrate you? Does it make you lose balance of life? You see? So the very basic things zinatusumbua, how can you deal with them? Because they are always there for us to solve. Then number two, you also after being able to deal with daily stresses of life, you should also be able to realize your potential, like I've said. What can I do? How productive am I as a person? How am I growing? Am I living a purposeful life? Am I just living a normal life? Then lastly, you should also ask yourself, am I contributing positively, not negatively, to the society or community? Because kuna wale pia wana contribute negatively. So you're not helping. So mentally you're not helping. For example, I'll put it in this way. Mtu mwingine atasema kwamba maybe some are saying our president is contributing negatively. So and our affect mentally. Some will say that. So that's one of them. Then there are those that are maybe like as mental health trainers, we contribute positively because we train people, we empower them, we give them this information so they are able to understand, okay, these are the signs of depression, these are the signs of anxiety, if ni bipolar, and I exhibit such. So I am able to even do self-screening. Nijue kwamba I'm not okay or I'm okay. Or I'm able to do, how do I know that I'm able, I know I have this stress, how do I know that I'm able to cope with them? So with this in mind, ukipatiwa, when we give you information like this, tunasema we are contributing positively to the community.
Okay, sometimes you go on the roads and you find someone eating so continuously for no reason, and you, okay, no. How do you define good mental health?
Good mental health comes from its definition. If you are able to do all that you have said, that really shows that you're okay mentally. How do you handle stress? How do you sit down and evaluate yourself? Do you know your abilities? Do you know your potential? If you don't know, then it means you're not healthy mentally. No. How you deal with stress, does it, you know, there's some people who deal with stress and they don't care about the others. You know, there's some people who you can just talk to and they just tell you, after I've dealt with it, I don't know whether the other person is feeling okay or not. So being being there, it means you're able to deal with the stress not affecting the other person, minding the other person's mental health. Yeah.
Okay, Lillian, I think I shifted to you. How do you define a good mental health? Because you promote the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In my understanding, when you say that a person is mentally well, is when a person have that soberness inside them. You know, when you're sober enough inside, you're able to interpret what is happening what is happening in your life in a positive way. You see, so a person who is mentally well is largely positive because inside them they are sober enough, because remember what we always say, that it's never about what you're going through, it's about who you are. So if inside you're sober enough, you're positive enough, then you're mentally well.
Good.
Yeah.
And to Glasson, there are some things that will always show or even manifest when something is happening anywhere, maybe in our bodies. There are some reactions or behavior that will be seen. What are some of the common disorders that will manifest themselves when your mind or your mental health is deteriorating?
Okay, first I would like to let us go back to the statement that you told us, the mind as a garden, right? Yeah. There is this curriculum that we use at Shofco, a garden method. Yeah. And in this garden method, we always talk about, we always equate your mind to a garden. Yeah. So how do you take care of your garden? And how do you know that your garden is not working well? Let's say umepanda mahindi. Yeah. Okay, then it is the 3rd month, na mahindi bado ziko hapa, na it's nothing, you don't see any growth in it. Ama leaves zimeturn from green, they are yellow. Or maybe storms zimekuja zimetingisha kidogo, hizo badala ikuwe straight, zimebend. You see? So the garden method is just trying to show us that the way we taking care of a garden and ensure that everything is okay, and when things are not okay, we also notice based on the surrounding, the same way we can notice with our minds. Yeah. However, I can also say this, that it's I don't know if it's unfortunate or unfortunate, that men and women can also show some different types of characters and behaviors to show that someone is not maybe mentally okay. For example, if in men, you know, men don't talk too much when it comes to matters mental health. They don't speak about their issues. So one of them utapata kwamba your man is aggressive. When your man is aggressive, for example, umemwambia tu good morning ama good evening, anakwambia what is good about this evening, and you're like sijakukosea, nimekuuliza tu swali, we're just talking or maybe umemwambia kitu kidogo, anambia tu kiberiti imeisha kwa nyumba, anakwambia wewe mwanamke ni mwanamke mgani, wewe si una kiberiti kwa nyumba ulete hapa 3-5 bob, unaningoja mpaka nikuje. So anajaribu ku bring a lot of issues out of things zenye pia mwenyewe anashinda sasa, why are we even arguing about this? So you find such people, unajua kwamba there is something wrong with them. Then when it comes to ladies also, find out pia utapata wengine, they are always moody. They are never in the mood for anything. Nugget. Like it's like mmekosana na yeye or amekosana, dunia imemkosea. You see? So even if maybe it's a small problem, instead of you to arguing about it, anajaribu kuleta so many issues. Analeta mpaka za kitambo, hata zingine ujui, zingine anasema mpaka sijui nani, analeta vitu mob. So you'll find that such people also kuna hizo issue. However, now there are this general signs that everyone can now maybe just look and say huyu yuko poa. One of them ni hiyo sasa, unapata mwingine the sadness, they are so sad. Some isolate themselves from others. Some lose appetite for doing things that they used to love the most. Let's say for example, mimi napenda coach football, right? Then I suddenly all of a sudden Man U nacheza and I'm not watching. Na inipei stress, like I'm okay, I feel like I just want to shut from everything. You see, so those hobbies that I used to love, all of a sudden zimekuwa burden. Vitu nilikuwa nafanya effortlessly, kwangu sasa zinakuwa a challenge. So when you find that everything that you used to do and they used to just happen naturally to you, saizi inakuwa ni kama tasks. Ni kama mtu amekwambia uoshe vyombo na ni saa kwenda shule. Unaona sasa unashinda, si nitachelewa mwalimu atanipiga, like una feel ni kama is a burden. So when such things start happening to you, unapatanga watu in such situations, someone can ask, mtu anataka kuambia you're not okay. Some also sweat their hands, wengine wanashiva, anakaa ni kama something is disturbing them. Some look worried. Some also unfortunate, unapata mwingine maybe anaanza hata kujiongelesha. You see, some people unapataga kwamba wanakaga ni kama they are talking to people behind them. Nimesema mniache, don't talk to me and blah 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 blah. And some lastly, as I finish, unapata kwamba they start using drugs irregularly. For example, unapata mtu maybe alikuwa anakunywanga weekend, all of a sudden ameanza kukunywa from Monday mpaka Sunday. Na hii kukua tabia yake. Alikuwa anasemanga mimi nakunywanga tu Sunday, juu Sunday sinanga job. Nimemaliza, ama anakunywa Saturday usiku, juu Sunday anajua atalala the whole day. But all of a sudden ameanza kukunywa daily, na hata unapata kama alikuwa anakuja kazi mapema ameanza kuchelewa. So with such patterns tutakuja ku notice kwamba this guy is not okay.
Okay, good. Lillian, do you think whether there is any disorder that we've left?
I think he has covered most of the aspect that we need to touch on.
Okay, Sylvia.
Yeah, I think he has mentioned almost all of them. Yeah, and the signs and the symptoms also. Yeah, but maybe there are people who are watching, and maybe they have people who have such signs and symptoms, and they are unable now to differentiate what is this person suffering from, because now we have signs and symptoms for each and every disorder, because disorders are so many. We have depression, bipolar, anxiety, eating disorder, and all that. So there are signs and symptoms that when you see a person having them, you'll definitely know that this one is depression, and this one is suffering from anxiety, this one is suffering from bipolar, eating disorders. That is easy to know, because there are people who will eat too much, and there are people who will not eat, and there are people who used to eat, but now the food wanacheza na chakula. Yeah. So the most common disorders that we normally talk about, and we talk about them loudly, because these are the ones that we see and experience, and people outside here are suffering from, is depression and anxiety. So for depression, outside here, the signs and symptoms are almost the same, but we categorize them into two clusters. There's cluster A and there's cluster B. So for cluster A, we have two main signs and symptoms. The first one is irritability. This is mostly seen in ladies, because ladies, we are emotional beings, where you find too much crying and too much sadness and too much distance. People self-distance themselves from the others, and losing interest from pleasurable activities, things that Glasson has said, things that I used to love doing, I'm no longer doing them. So those two are in cluster A. So in cluster B, we find now the disorders of not eating, being moody all the time, sadness, hopelessness, unworthiness, feeling all of that. So for depression, we normally say, if you see these signs and symptoms in a person for a period of 2 weeks, kuendelea, this person might be suffering from depression. This person, he or she has higher chances of suffering from depression. So kindly, where you're watching, if whatever we are talking here today, you find yourself, you are there, you really need to seek help. And if you have a friend or a family member who you see these things happening to them, you really need to tell them to seek help. It's really important.
Lillian, do you have something you can add on this when it comes to depression and that kind of anxiety?
Okay. I'll want to speak about the complication that comes with these things. For example, depression, anxiety, and so on and so forth. When you fail to manage that, as she's saying, when you notice that someone is having the symptoms for more than 2 weeks, it's good to, to intervene in the right way. If you fail, at later stages, they bring about complications. And complications bring about now physical health issues. For example, it might bring about, actually depression is one of the causes of hypertension in most people because of stress, which later on affects the way your blood flows. It increases the blood flow in a way that is not normal, and that is what brings about hypertension in most people. It also brings about ulcers. You understand? It also brings about, just so many physical health issues that we would... Anytime you accept yourself and say that, when you're depression, I'm suffering from this, let me seek help. Anytime you ignore that initial stage, you risk getting the complication, and which later on will be so hard for you to manage. Okay,
or even to salvage yourself from the same situation. Gladstone Ghetto Grinders Director, Community Network, where sometimes there's something that I wanted you to add on the same. Yes. It's about your physical health, the relation between your physical health and your mental health. What will trickle down from your mind to make sure that your body does not look like it should be. And you don't have that issue Sylvie is talking about, that you don't feel like you want to eat today. It's like you just want to, you call them slim post bullying or what?
Well, yeah, I agree with that. And maybe I would love to also start maybe from this point whereby Sylvia and my sister have mentioned the mental health disorders that are there, and also I talked about the symptoms. So just for that, so that someone who is listening to us anashinda what is not happening, aelewe vizuri. The disorders are now the diseases. Zenye tumetaja hapa is depression, bipolar, and anxiety, etc. Then what I talked about mostly were majorly about the symptoms, the general symptoms, but also Wangesha may jaribu ku narrow down, especially kwa depression akajaribu kupeana, because kuna pia specific symptoms for a certain nini. However, I also urged them kwamba don't self-diagnose yourself. As much as you're doing self-screening, don't start waking up. Unajua kuna wengine unapata sasa juu wangesha miezi 7 ameziandika mahali. Sasa they will be walking around akiambia watu, hebu sema shida zako. You tuliambiwa kwa TV in depression. Unaona, anaanza kwa because anaona sasa ni daktari. Amesoma. So it's bad. The only person who can tell you if you are sick or not is the doctor. So wewe kazi yako ni kuangalia tu. Uone kwamba do I suffer from all this? Yes, let us come to now the relationship between the physical and the mental aspect. In fact, that is the physical stuff that majorly contribute to the mental issues that we talked about. The other time when you were talking about Labor Day, I said that if you are a worker, it is important for you to appreciate rest and also exercise. They are very key because when you work, for example, Jeff, you work here. Hapo unaongeanga kila saa. You see, every time unaongea, you sit down, plan for your stuff, alafu you are engaging your mind in the same breath. You see, na kunanga kitu mbaya kama kuchoka akili. Afadhali uchoke mwili. You can sleep and wake up fresh, or you can go to take a long bath, unatoka kama uko sawa, or maybe go for swimming. So when it comes to physical health, one of the things that you should be doing, which is so commonly, at least exercise. Make exercise part of who you are. For example, hata kama uko na gari ama uko na other means of transport, or even have money, still prioritize walking. Walking is not for the maskini. Kuna mwana niambia nitembe mimi ni maskini. Nilisiwezi nunua gari nitembe. So people don't understand these things. Hata kwenda kwa supermarket gari, akitaka kwenda kutembelea rafiki yake na anaishi around, maybe wewe uko Buruburu yako Jericho, gari. You see, yani you don't fancy walking. So you make walking kama kwako ni burden. Number 2, also gymming. Some don't even appreciate gym. Anasema gym ni watu wamenona. Wanataka unajaribu kukonda. Ama mtu mwenye ana mwili anajaribu ku gain weight. It's okay, but gym is not only for those who want to gain muscles, maybe men, or those who want to reduce in the size. No, pale kuna so many aspects zenye unakuwa engaged in, zenye zinakusaidia ku refresh your mind, just to relax, remove all the pressures. Kama ile punching bag, you don't gain weight by punching the bag. You need to relieve the too much pressure and too much energy that is in you. For example, in the garden method kuna hiyo zinaitwa facility strategies, whereby now when you are hyper, nguvu ni mingi, you feel like beating people. Tunasebanga remove that energy by doing something. For example, you punch your bag, you are engaging your hands, zitaanza kuchoka. You see, so you'll find that ile nguvu ilikuwa mingi na kufanya kitu kingine haiko again, because umeshaitumia mahali pengine. So it's okay. So for you to make sure kwamba your physicality does not affect your mental health, you have to make sure that you are physically fit and you're physically okay, whereby now do the basics, eat well, do a balanced diet, because also your physical health comes with eating well. Eating a balanced diet yenye itakusaidia ku remain okay. Then number 2, exercising as much as you can, because if your body is okay, it means also wewe mwenyewe you will be able to control your mind, whereby you will be able to cope with all the stresses zitakuja. But ikikupata mwili yako ni weak and also your mentality is exposed, utapata kwamba hata wewe mwenyewe ku seek help, your body will not be able to carry you to the doctor, because already sasa ume shut down, umeanza ku isolate, umeanza hata ku feel kwamba yuko poa, because it's fine when you look better. For example, tuseme umeenda gym, ume slim poa ama umejenga fit, then people are telling you mse unakaa poa. Unaget? So mtakwambia unakaa poa, you find that you start feeling okay, your self esteem inaongezeka. So you find that kama kulikuwa na zile stresses zingekuja kwa akili yako kukusumbua in terms of how you look, zina disappear. Then unajua kuna wale wasichana wanapendanga wana misuli. So if you find so many people coming to your way, unaanza ku feel like okay, nime stand out. So it helps you. That's the physical aspects that now affecting the mental aspect. So kuna hiyo, there are so many things, but najua we don't have a lot of time for that.
Okay, that's building you self-esteem. And to Lilian, because I think that is more of your field, what is the relation between what Gladstone has said about your physical health and your mental health? Which is most important? And how close is one another?
There's so much, Marie. There is no way you'll not be mentally well and expect to be physically well. Because as he's saying, if you're not mentally well, you'll not be able to eat well. You'll not be able to exercise well. You'll not be able to be productive in your areas. Actually, it goes a long way, in such a way that it also affects how you live with others, the social aspect of life. Because if I'm always self-isolating, because I'm feeling that I'm not not fit enough to be with these people, it affects everything that you do. And anytime your productivity is affected, your mental health is affected, your physical wellness will definitely be affected. And anytime your physical wellness is affected, it now becomes so expensive to manage and to handle.
Sure. Sylvia, long ago when we were in primary school, there is this, I don't know whether from your area it was, hii mahindi ilikuwa tunaletewa ya yellow.
Mahindi.
Yes. Gladstone, you...
Mahindi ya yellow? Nilisikia kama story. Okay, sijawahi kula, but...
Okay, sometimes, you see now, we are not used to the same. It was so strange to us and even to our digestive system. You find when you take much of it, because you see it is a strange thing, it is looking... the yellow maize looks so beautiful. So because of its beauty, you take more. And when you're in school, there is a disorder when your digestion is taking place. And there are some things that you don't want to show to the other pupils. Then, actually, I'm going that direction to ask, there is something that will happen in my mind. Like I'm used to a drinking habit that I've not had sometimes before, and I'm changing, or even I'm shifting to such behavior because of some situations that are taking place in my life. And I don't want you, as my friends, to see. I don't want them to be exhibited. So how do we fight stigma when it comes to issues of mental health?
If someone is stigmatizing you, then it means that person is not knowledgeable enough. First thing first, whatever we are doing here today is very important, because today we are educating people. And so many people who are suffering from mental health disorders, so many of them face stigmatization and even negligence. Also in family setups. When you talk about mental health and its disorders, many think that sometimes kids are not affected. But we really need to see mental health diversely, and mental health and its own disorders can affect anyone, anybody. So first thing first, I would really want people to embrace that someone can suffer from a condition. And mental health disorders are not different from sicknesses that we go through as normal people. It's not different from malaria, because it's a disorder, and malaria can be a disorder also. So it's a sickness like any other. And you that you're suffering, you need first to understand this is not a mountain. This is just a disorder, and it can be treated. Once you do that, you might not even be able to see the stigma, because most people sometimes people see stigma when there is no stigma, because the stigma, it is in their mind. Stigma already, it's formed in their mind. So you cannot see anything beyond whatever you've seen in your mind. So today I'll challenge people. Anything that you see in your mind, you tend to experience it. So first, see positive things in your mind for you to experience those. And anytime that you feed yourself positivity, you can walk out of that stigma whole. You can walk out of that stigma, having teaching those people that whatever you're stigmatizing me about, it's nothing to be stigmatized, but something that you should offer support for us to get people being healed and people knowledgeable about the issues at hand.
Okay, that's great. Remember, you're watching EBN TV, The Spheres of Life, and this is Cultivating the Garden of Your Mind, and this is your mental health. And this is how we finish the month of May. So to Gladson, I know the issues of stigma, I think you've not touched anything on the same. I know you've something that you can add on the same. How can you fight stigma? And as I was going through the analogy of the yellow maize, I wanted to depict that there's some things that are happening within yourself that you don't want other people to see. So I know Gladson is well first with this. How can we fight stigma?
First, Mangeshi has put it so correctly, kwamba information is power.
Yeah.
So if people get the information ya kwamba when you are having mental health issues, you're just as a sick person as any other person. You are not any different. Because kitambo, there are so many myths and misconceptions about mental health. Mara umerogwa, mara inaweza ambukizana. Unakaa na wazimu, utakuwa wazimu. Unaona sasa, sasa they start fearing you. Mtu anaona bana huyu usikane atakuambukiza ujinga. Unaona. So you find that inakuwa ngumu. However, one, if people understand that mental illnesses and disorders are just as any other disease, and actually they're manageable or treatable, so you find that they will start embracing it. Then number two, they make sure, let them know that those people who are going through mental illnesses, they also need support and also they need help. So once they understand that, they will start trying to make sure kwamba wanasema, hey, bana, by the way, huyu jamaa ako na bipolar and I go through a lot. So they will start understanding you, so that wakati mbuni zako unakuwa na hiyo mood swing, umekasirika, umefurahi, umekasirika, umefurahi, they stop judging. Utasema hiki hata wiki si mtu mzuri kukaa naye. They will be like, okay, it's fine. Huyu si tunamwelewa, si kupenda kwake, and undergo something, so we just here to support. Akijam, wewe mwe chini ama jaribuni kutafuta vile unaweza. Akiwa chini, tuone vile tunaweza msaidia, anifanye nini, arudi juu. So information, one is information. Two is creating community resilience. Community resilience comes through this aspect whereby now you make everyone to feel as they belong to a certain community. For example, tuseme wala wanaishi kwa maybe ghetto, they have a community. Take care of one another, love one another, show them that unity, there's a unity of purpose. So nawaambia huyu jamaa usikubali jirani yako aumie na uko hapo. Help them. Let them refer, call this number. So what I feel like, just like ile wakati ile mwingine wa corona ulikuwa mtu akikohoa kidogo unasema we
unashuka kwa matatu.
Unaona unasema ngojeni kwanza. Unasi unashtuka. So once we have the information and we know what to do, we will stop judging everyone, we will stop discriminating, we will be calling for help. Nasema rafiki yangu hapa amejifungia kwa nyumba for 3 days and mimi sielewi what is happening. Maybe you can send your people wakuje waangalie what is happening. Then number 2, utakuwa una take it slow, because the more we judge these people, the more we isolate them, we're not making anything okay. We are even widening the gap between them and help. Inakuwa even far. Juu anaanza kuona kwamba wait, so mimi si mtu kama hao wengine. You see? Akianza kujiona kwamba I'm a nobody. Na umeona one of the issues zinakujanga na especially depression hiyo isolation and feeling of self unworthiness. So once ukianza ku feel you are unworthy, it means you're not even comfortable staying around people. And once you're not comfortable around people, it means you're not able to talk. Now once you're not able to talk, utaanza kujifikiria different. Ya kwamba how about maybe I'm better off. Hii dunia ni kama initaki. So how about now I just leave it, niachie wale dunia mwakubali waishi hapo. So find about hizo suicidal thoughts, which are also part and sign of extreme signs and symptoms that depression zinaanza ku kick in. So what we can do, everyone ni ile tu, let us just be your brother's keeper. That is the easiest way to fight stigma and discrimination. Make those people feel loved. Na sio tu wale tu wenye wana undergo hizi vitu, hata kuna wale wanachunga hawa watu. You see, maybe mama alizaa mtoto mwenye ako bipolar, or maybe wengine wako na cerebral palsy and stuff like that. So unapata they are caregivers, they go through a lot also. So our peer, they need this support, because also kuna hii issue ya once you are exposed too much to either prolonged sickness or something of that sort, either you as a person or taking care of a person, unaanza kuwa affected. So utapata kwamba pia wewe there's a likelihood utakuwa patient kama mwingine. So you see, so with that we just need to support them. Let's show them you hata kama mnaweza enda kuwatembelea, do that, whatever we can do to just make them feel like they belong, they are worthy. Whatever they're going through, it is common to everyone. They are not unique. I think with that wataanza ku feel we are valued by the community, and actually kwamba these people wame to accept. Now once we feel they are accepted, then stigma discrimination inaenda tu yenyewe.
Good. Lilian, what is stigma in 1 minute? Then how can we fight it?
Stigma, I'll explain it this way. It is a state where people tend tend to kind of judge you or discriminate you for what you're going through. Yeah, they're so judgmental. They never give you a listening ear. You know, they kind of treat you in a negative way, but the reason of what you're going through as an individual. Yeah.
Okay, good. Sylvia, sometimes there is a perception that we've had from a long time, or a perception that you may have maybe when you meet a person, and sometimes, as Gladson was saying about mimi sijui kutembea mguu, mimi si maskini, sijui kitu kama hiyo. There is a way you paint something or someone when you see them in a certain situation. Tumekuwa tukiona mental health kama nini as a people. Yani, what have we painted it as? Because sometimes we may fail to understand the depression that you're talking about, the anxiety. We may fail to understand cerebral palsy. We may fail to understand, you've talked about, is it anxiety? Not anxiety, but
depression.
Sorry?
Bipolar.
Yes, that is the word I was looking for. Yes, bipolar. There are some things that are taking place, or kuna mtu tapatana ya kuambia ni wewe umejitakia. Yeah. So how can a society view or perceive someone who is undergoing through challenges in their mind?
First, I'll start by saying, how better do you know concerning matters mental health? You know?
Yeah.
And I would wish to advise people outside here. You know, when you speak without knowing things, we term you as a fool.
Yeah.
Let us not be fools.
Yeah.
Let us not be foolish. Let us embrace knowledge. Let us embrace learning each and every day. And once you learn, then you'll be able to see things differently. You'll be able to perceive things differently. You'll be able to understand that people are different because we have different backgrounds, we have different beliefs, we have different religions and all that.
Yeah.
Once you tend to know that life is different for everyone, then you'll be able to listen before judging.
Yeah.
Because I can only know you when you tell me who you are, right?
Yeah.
I can't say your name if I don't know your name.
Yeah.
I can't say Jeff is like this, this and that. Yet I've not sat with Jeff to know who really Jeff is. So I normally say, even being judgmental, that means that mentally you're not okay.
Yeah.
You don't have a health in your mental, you're not mentally stable.
Yeah.
You don't have stability, because why are you judgmental?
Yeah.
Why would you talk something that you don't know?
Yeah.
And why would you diminish other people? You know, we have said, when we were defining mental health, we said being productive and fruitful in the community. So if you're doing the vice versa of that, then it means you need help, you yourself, you need help before the other person who you think that they're not okay. Before they get that help, I think you need help the first.
Okay, good. Last one. How have people been perceiving or seeing mental health as? Ni kujifanya, ni kujitakia, hatuni kilicho kukumba.
Yes, that's why you're naongelea kuhusu myths and misconceptions mental issues. Unapata one of them ilikuwa nakwambia ni hiyo. Unapata mtu anasema kwao wanakuaga wazimu. So unajua ukishasema hawa kwao, already umejidistance from that. Inamaanisha wewe si wazimu, iko na certain people. So hiyo ni one. So one of the misconceptions. Okay, we can say genetic causes. One of the causes of mental illnesses, one of them in your genetics, maybe you can inherit. But however, we cannot now use that as a basis of saying kwamba now mental health is just for a specific people. For example, na kama sai in our lives unapata out of 10 9 people in their life before they die they will suffer from an episode of depression. So you can imagine how huge that population is. 9 out of 10. So which means now what will you do about it before you go extreme will be important. So it means also it also shows us kwamba kila mtu anaweza suffer from mental issues. So number 2 so it means kuna mambo atini ya watu fulani. Number 2 hakuna kurogwa hapo. Unaona? Mental issues hazikuji na kurogwa na hakuna mtu ameroga mtu. Naona kuna wengine wanasemanga huyu wazimu unaokota takataka huyu amerogo huyu. Kama alikuwa anaibia watu amerogo kwa hivyo. Yes, probably kuna wale those who believe in witchcraft wanaogananga wenyewe wanakula nyasi and stuff. However, you cannot equate that to the correct meaning of that because how many people wamerogo hapa nje ni wenda wazimu? Sio wengi. The population is small. You see? So 3 kuna wale waga wanasema kwamba kuna watu hii ni tabia yake akiwa mdogo, kuna kitu alifanya akiwa mdogo. So analipa. Unaona? Analipa akiwa mkubwa. Hata mwingine akatuambia ile story ya this lady Saida Karoli. Alimba ile mboya ule I don't know. Mfalme alikuwa anacheka watu. Then msichana wake akaanza kuzaa kiwete, akazaa kipofu, akazaa bubu, kiziwi, then akaanza kuambia tell me what you want, akaanza kumwambia what hawezi wapea. You see, so watu wakaanza sasa hivi ndio real, you know, sasa hizi vitu no. So people also think that people are paying for their sins by having mental health issues and that is hizo ndio vitu unapata. Sasa watu wanaogopa kusaidiana because una feel naweza msaidia niambukize. Unaona? Because kuna wale pia wanaamini just like ukoma, ukikana mtu ukoma pia wewe itakushika. Pia wana believe kwamba ukikana mtu akona depression itakushika. Tumeona kuna ile supporting ina support kwamba if you for long but huyu ni jirani yako, huyu ni rafiki yako, amwishtaka na yeye for long. Na ukimsaidia mapema apate help, there is a probability kwamba ako likely kupona more than kukuambukiza. Unaona? Because ndio kuambukize lazima ukwe directly associate to them. Ile kabisa mko close ndio ushindwe sasa kumhandle pia wewe ianze kukusumbua. But kama ni mtu namrefer for help, probably what you will only do ni kumrefer. Then maybe from there utawai muona probably or atapona then everything goes back to normal. So the perception that people have ndio tunafaa tutoe. Na watu wache kufikiria kwamba hizi ni issues. Just like tulianza tukisema mwanzoni, hii tu mtu ni storms na happen na everyone is just like farmers. If someone wasema kwamba ati mahindi ya ule imeangi juu yao ni wachawi. Sasa mchanga imekasirika and stuff like that. Unaona? Sasa zimekataa kutoa mazao or God is punishing them. No, unaweza pata tu maybe kuna wako side mbaya nini, maybe mvua ilinyesha ikavuka or mwingine the area yao it's too rocky, you can't even plant too much. Unaget? So you cannot equate farming ya mtu mmoja or maybe under performance ya soil yake to everyone kwamba is happening. No. So that's what you can say and the people since we're talking of as the mind as a garden, people should just understand. Just like a garden can be attacked by anything. Sasa tumeona hata kumekuwa na so many promos za madawa za kudeal na insects. So tukianza kusema watu wanadiliwa kuna ma insects ni watu wamerogwa. So muona hata wale mafarmers wazuri wataacha kupuliza dawa kwa kusema hizi tushika juu ni ya watu fulani. Then when it's too late madudu yameingia kwa shamba zangu na notice wait. So ni ya kila mtu. But once you take precaution unajua kwamba I am also a potential victim of mental illnesses. So unaanza kupractice mapema hizi ma defensive factors. Unaona kama kwa mfano mtu akijua anapanda kwa slope ataweka magabion CV aseme mvua ikinyesha iende regularly. You get so my crop iko poa. Anajua mimi naishi kwa stormy area. So how about I start planting trees mapema. So you see once you do all these things unapata kwamba wewe mwenyewe una notice kwamba mental illnesses si za mtu mmoja. Ni za kila mtu. It is just what do you do to prevent yourself from being affected by them. So if we change our perceptions ya kwamba ikuwe let us stop looking at urogi na hizo vitu zingine. Let us look at how can we protect ourselves from them. Then if mmoja wetu ameshikwa nayo, how can we help them to be better?
Good. Lillian, 1 minute. How do people see mental health? And we've like 3 minutes, then we off.
It's okay. As they have just said, most people still believe that these are things that have to do with spirituality. Well, to some extent, I may agree, but people need to understand that we have a lot of things that are behind mental health issues. Some of them are just chemical reactions in the brain that leads to some of these mental health issues. Others are just because of genetics, and others are due to the daily stresses of life when you maybe happen to face something that is way beyond your control to handle it. For example, God forbid, you don't have money and then you happen to have a kin who has cancer. Definitely, it might be hard for you to cope and it might lead to a mental health issue. So in as much as we have the spiritual bit of it, we have to shift our mindset because you cannot be able to solve a problem that you have not accepted. Yes. Sure, good. And I'm reading some few comments here. I'm not reading all. We've done Felicitas tuned in. We have Diana Mwane, good evening and a happy Madaraka Day to you, our host JS and the team. Thank you. If Diana, again, is it possible, this is a question, is it possible for someone to be having mental health issues that they are not aware? And if yes, how do you deal with that? Well,
That's a question, you can pick it. We have Cheryl Mageni. Moody ladies are hormonal, don't blame us. Okay. A lot of mental issues stem from comparison, not being contented with what you have. Some can be inherited, so it's important to see a shrink if you can't afford prayer, can work or talk to a friend, okay? We've done against lands is well represented, a very informative topic, good job there. And Kim the Gura with Gracie Liz Eshiro, following from Umoja, good job. With Sharon Visiawa, we actually need to speak out, it's important for mental health wellness. Paulina Kinyi, following from Watare, mental health matters. Hello, our mental health matter, watching from Matare. I think we get there. And I think, Gladson, you will answer that question because I think we will finish this next week or other. Okay, so you answer that, then final word, 30 seconds. Okay. Can you be having mental health issues and you can notice?
Yes, you can, because not all, just like magonjwa mengine, not everything gives you symptoms immediately. However, for example, let's say mtu mwenye anakunywa pombe, maybe ako na shida ya pombe. Yeye hata notice, atakwambia mimi nakunywa tu ni starehe zangu. Unaona? But by the time nyinyi ndio mtaanza kumwambia wait, but umeguna kunywa sana. Ndio ataanza ku notice. Hata pia mwenyewe ataanza kusema pana, nimeanza kuwa guru, like I'm being mimi ni ule msee kwa community. Maybe alianza na bia moja, ameenda bia mbili, all of a sudden kwa crate. Ameanza kuona crate haimsaidii. Anaenda kwa hizi. Anasema mimi sasa nilikuwa naambia watu juzi, anasema yeye ndio mapepo spirits, anataka kunywa ma spirits. So ana shift. So tunaona yeye kwake ha notice kwamba ni blood stream yake inazoea ama inaanza kuwa more of an addiction whereby now anataka even a stronger dose ndio mwili yake feel the effect. So you see, kitambo alikuwa chupa moja inamtingisha, sasa mbili inatingisha, all of a sudden crate inamtingisha, sasa hii anaenda kwa mzinga mbili ndio asikie the effect. So you see, so it means your body ina songa juu. So all of at one point itafika upate kwamba now you cannot control it, whereby now sasa everything that you do you have to take alcohol for you to do it.
Okay, good. Yes. I cut you there. Next week don't forget to start off there. And that is the question that we shall, that is the point that we shall cover, all of us, because I think you've not through, because there are some things happening in your life and you don't notice. Now you're just unaenda tu kisha. So if you find no word, okay, and say hi to two people.
Okay, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed the topic at hand. Great minds over here. And thank you for the opportunity to be here once again. So today, I'll just leave you by saying, the way we have likened our mind to a garden. Just sit down, check, double check, recheck. Our mind needs what and what for it to bloom, and what affects the garden if it's not blooming, and what can I do if my garden has deteriorated. It's the same. Just do a check on yourself. Honestly, be honest with yourself, because you're only talking to yourself. You know, you don't have a need to shy. You don't have a need to lie. Just self-check yourself. Ask yourself what is working, what is not working. What are the negative traits that I have? How can I deal with them? And start doing it. Just live one day at a time, and start replacing the bad with the good, and embrace your mental health.
What were really? Majina too.
Majina, shout out to Ruth Omoyo and Kelvin Mungai.
Good, glad
your mental health matter. Wewe ndio mtu wa kwanza, ukijipenda utajitunza, because it starts with love. Once you love yourself, hata ukipenda nguo zako utaziosha vizuri, utataka ikuwe hata na uchafu moja. So the same way, once you love yourself, you'll be doing a cross check. Akili iko sawa, roho iko sawa, na mind iko sawa. And shout out to Sharon Visiawa. She is our friend. Na naonanga akasange ku comment. Acha nilipe deni. Shout out to Sharon Visiawa. Thank you for always watching us. Jeff amesema next week we are also here. So we will also big you up again. And also shout out to all Madari people. Nimeona some of them wamesema from Madari. I know you are following all Mina Wangeshi, and we appreciate you so much. And yes, at the end of the day, you matter. Take care of yourself and penda jirani.
Good. Lilian.
It is okay not to be okay, and seeking for help is not a sign of weakness. So let me say hi to my brother, George Karaoke, and Elizabeth Nyakairo. I know you're watching. I love you guys.
Thank you, and I'm happy for you people coming. Sylvia Wangeshi, psychologist with Gladson, director, Ghetto Grinders Community Network, and Wanjiro Lilian, health specialist at Metropolitan Hospital. Thank you for coming and thank you for gracing this show. It is a very key topic because, as we said, this is the garden of your body, and this is what we shall be doing next time. We have no stories. We have no more stories because our time is far much spent, and we are spending time for other people. So thank you for watching. Thank you for sending in your comment. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for even doing all that you're supposed to do. I'm your host, Jeff Kimaiu. We want to wish you a great month, a great week. So whatever you do, be blessed, and what matters in your body is your garden, is your mind. Thank you. God bless you. Good night and bye-bye.